Let's see, I'm John Lee, St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association. We're here with Miss Katharyn Davis. First Friday of the month. We're so happy to have. She's also going to be joining us for our main event on the 18th of June. So if you don't have your schedules marked, mark them now and plan on being there live. So Kathy, good to see you. What do you have to say for us today?
Well, I guess I'm going to lead with the St. Louis City right to counsel because this is there's kind of a lizard drill going on down there. And originally, when that was passed last summer, it was to go into effect of July 1st this year. They allocated originally on information and belief $5 million over 4 years, and I think they don't math much because they seem to have the expectation that for $5 million for 4 years, all of the tenants are going to get representation. And that is just not possible. And in addition to that, most of the tenant rights organizations like Arch City and New Covenant have declined to participate. Um, they don't want to do the representation under this plan. The only one left standing is legal services, and they are having a great deal of trouble negotiating with the city on how this is going to work. And I think you know that I told you guys a while ago that I thought they would only be able to handle a few cases a week, and that they might do it like they do it in Kansas City, where you call in on Monday morning and like the first 10 or 12 cases get taken or whatever. Apparently, here they're thinking they can only take 5 cases a week. So that's not a lot compared to how many people get evicted. Um, so I think the city wants them to do more, and legal services is saying no. But in any event, we were supposed to have to start July 1st giving a handout to anybody we were evicting that was supposed to say, here's how you contact the right to counsel lawyers. It looks like we're not going to have that handout by July 1st. Again, should we get that, should they generate it, amazingly enough, in the next 23 days, I will send it to John so that he can post it on the website here. And if they have it by the time we see each other in person on the 18th, I'll bring it there and give it out to everybody. For anybody who uses us for an eviction, we will send that notice out to the tenants as part of the eviction as soon as that notice is generated. But until the city creates that and generates it to us, I don't think we have an obligation under that ordinance to send out a notice that doesn't exist. And again, I know that people are unhappy about the idea that tenants are going to be provided with free lawyers. Some of them get free lawyers now because they go through legal services or Art City or New Covenant or get a pro bono appointment through the bar. I don't think this is going to make that much difference. It's going to be a few more cases a week. And we are running 50 to 100 cases a week, just us, and there's other law firms doing this. So um and I will tell you something else too. It's not that we're not tough. I mean, have you met Christine? But we get along with the tenant lawyers for the most part. There was one that I couldn't get along with, and that group, EHOC, has gone out of business, and apparently there's indictments coming, and they did funny stuff with their money. But the rest of them we get along with. So we're going to do the same thing that we're doing now when one of them enters on the case. We're going to try to work something out with them. We're going to respect our client's wishes. And, we're probably going to work out some kind of consent judgment or deal for the person to move or whatever, just as we do now. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference, I don't think, to us at all. It won't be good for the pro se landlords. I think people who are doing their own cases should be cautious when they're trying to proceed against an attorney on the other side. So that's where you might want to reach out to us or to one of the other eviction lawyers that works in our area. I did a thing earlier this week for the apartment association. I don't know if any of you were on that, but we went over the various ordinances, other ordinances that had been proposed in the city. The mold one is pretty much dead, which is good because there's like 500,000 different kinds of mold, and this bill was not good on its definitions or anything. And as any experienced landlord knows, a lot of times mold is due to housekeeping, not by the tenant, not anything the landlord does. Of course, you guys are good landlords, right? And if your roof caves in and water gets in and there's mold from that, or something that is the landlord's responsibility, I know you're going to take care of it. There's a bill that passed that the group that the realtors and the apartment association have helped and funded in part. They got the mold thing kicked, and they got the temperature bill modified a lot. And now instead of the whole unit having to be 65 degrees all the time during the summer, it's more like a range between 68 and 80 degrees, or maybe 85, and it only has to be one room. So if it can be a window unit in one room, cooling that enough. My experience again is usually when there's no air conditioning, it's because the tenant hasn't paid their electric bill, and so you know that they got to pay their electric bill, or Ameren is not going to be pleased. So I don't know how many people that's really going to help. If there's still any buildings left that don't have air conditioning at all, that could be a problem for that landlord. But then again, we've got this bill moderated to where you would just have to put a window unit in one room and keep one room cool. Let's see, what were the other bills? There was the landlord registration, and they basically wanted you to live in the unit with the tenant, practically. But now we've gotten that expanded a lot. So it's like a 100-mile radius from the city. You have to be there, or you have to have an agent or a manager or something like that within that distance. I don't really know what they think they're going to do with this either. There's this thing that we've had for a while called telephones. And I think that, you can call someone on a telephone. I mean, I've used my cell phone in Europe and South America. So people can get you when you're pretty far away. So I don't know. I really didn't understand the point of someone has to be so close, but it should be easy for you to get, if you're not local, to get a local person to put down on the thing. You might have to pay a little money, or a local management company. We are, of course, willing to act as registered agent for corporations and LLCs. And I'm not 100% sure that would satisfy the requirement, but it might, and we would do that. We charge a small fee for that. It's fairly nominal. But the city seemed to think, or the progressive people in the city seem to think, that landlords buy properties and are never seen again, which is not really the purpose of landlords. They also seem to have this view that landlords are just running around evicting good tenants all the time, which my experience with that is that nobody has ever hired me to evict a good tenant. They hire me to evict someone who doesn't pay or bothers the neighbors, or, deals drugs on the property, whatever. Nobody ever calls me up and says, Kathy, I'd like to give you $500 to put out this nice elderly person who pays the rent on time and is very quiet and doesn't bother anybody. This is not a thing. If you want to, call me, but uh, it's not a thing. Of course, once in a while we have, a landlord who needs the building empty to renovate it, or that kind of thing. And that's, really, I think, to the common good, but people are not evicting good tenants. So that's my big update with respect to the city. Not too much new in the county, much to the relief of me and Christine. We have our new judge, Judge Chastity Dillon Amelong. We love her. She is denying people, tenants come in all the time and ask for last minute stays of the sheriff execution. She's denying those right and left. It's great. A lot of judges get kind of soft-hearted and, give the tenant a few more days, and that can sort of gum up the works. But she's just basically saying, no, you got to go. And she's a really hard worker. She came to us appointed by the governor, and she had previously been a traffic court commissioner in St. Louis County. And she is doing her traffic court docket as well as our docket until they appoint a new commissioner. So we're busy in there on docket days, but we're getting it done. And she issues her judgments the same day. I mean, we're just having a great time with Judge Dillon Amelong. So we're happy about that. I don't think there's any too much else new going on in the county. They seem to be processing evictions pretty quick. The city has gotten more caught up, although it might be taking them a little bit longer. But we're just kind of rolling along. Busy season now, a lot of evictions in the summer. as people decide to quit paying their landlord to put together their security deposit and first month's rent for the new landlord that they're going to move to. So they're stiffing you while they're doing that. Um, I saw yesterday, I was kind of surprised. A lot of the cases that I had, the people were owing a lot of money. And in Missouri, we can start to evict someone the day after the rent is due. I don't necessarily recommend that, but I don't recommend that you wait months, because then you got this person coming into court and they owe 10 grand and there's just no way, you know, they're, unless you're going to be very generous with permission for us to do a payment plan, you know, those people are not ever going to get caught up. And I'm not real convinced about how your prospects of collecting that much money are. You get a lot of people, you get people who owe a lot of money like that, and it's going to be easier for them just to file bankruptcy or, you know, go totally dark. So, anybody have any questions or comments? Anyone?
That's a good point about people getting behind and trying to work out payment plans. I've done that a few times in the past and they've never worked out. You know, when people end up owing you 6 or 8 grand or 10
Yeah.
grand, it just doesn't work. In fact, I used to say if I could collect 50% of the money people owe me in judgments, not just what they owe me, but owe me in judgments with the court, you wouldn't see me for a couple of years. I'd be going around the world on that
Yeah,
money.
really.
It just
I
doesn't
know.
happen.
I
It's
can't believe how many uncollectible judgments I have in my closed files. I mean, it's really just amazing.
mhm,
Um, So don't let them get too deep into you guys before you file suit. And when we file suit, we can still do a payment plan or continue the case, but
mhm.
we're going to get a judgment that's enforceable in case they fall off the wagon and quit paying you. And we
Yeah.
write a lot of payment plans that are like the current rent when due and 500 additional a month to get the back paid off. And I guess sometimes those work. I
Mhm,
don't get anybody that calls me and says, "Hey, my person paid." They're doing great, but
mhm.
yeah, I think sometimes those things work, but if they get in too deep, it's just not going to last.
Yeah.
Nobody can sustain that, you
Yeah,
know.
it doesn't
They're
help
not
them.
able
It
to.
doesn't help you. You're better off just to go ahead and deal with it up front in
Yeah.
most cases. Yeah.
And also, you know that that some tenants and there are sometimes with attorneys have been successful, particularly in the city, less so in the county, in getting the security level raised on their eviction lawsuits. So don't just rely on CaseNet when you're screening people to accept them as tenants. Make sure you have a screening service or you're running a credit report or calling the prior landlord, the prior couple of landlords if possible, so that you can really get a good picture of where this person is. I think this raising the security level, you know, the tenant comes in and cries and says, "I can't find another place because the landlord see this on my case net." Well, what are you doing? Are you lying to them and saying you've never been evicted on the application? And you're going to cover up that lie by getting your security level raised? I mean, there's other ways to find this information out. So I think these judges are kind of facilitating them lying, but ultimately it's not a solution if the landlord's a good screener. So be cautious about that. Anybody
Absolutely.
else?
I
Anything?
think
I got
there's
to
a
pick
couple
up the call at
questions.
noon.
Amber and then Demetrius. Amber, are you there?
Oh,
Got
someone asked
the
me in the chat, do I collect on judgments? I'll tell you some things. We're doing less and less of that because we're so busy with the evictions. I will give you guys two names. I'll type them into the chat. Jimmy Fendelman is a lawyer, our good friend, and he does collections on a contingent basis. If we have already gotten a money judgment for you, he will take that over and garnish them and try to help you collect them. He's really a good guy. We really like him. And in fact, Christine used to work for him, but I stole her. Um, but he forgave me. Anyway, okay, so I put it in the chat. Okay, and then the other entity that I have worked with somewhat is Kristen Scott at Consumer Collection Management, CCM. And I'm putting her phone number in. And I think she's really good. If you already have a judgment, you should probably go to Jimmy because he can, you know, figure out if that judgment is garnishable and that kind of stuff. But if you don't have a money judgment yet, and particularly if the amount is smaller, Kristen might be a good person to work with. So Christine will still do some collection. Chris will do some collection, but we're moving more and more to referring that because we're just too busy. And you got to be on that stuff and keep up with it. So um that's the deal with that. Okay,
Those,
who's next?
those are good numbers to have, and I'll repeat those in a little bit for anybody watching the replay. But yeah, I think we had a couple questions. Amber, I think you had your hand up first, and I think Demetrius had one too. So are you there, Amber?
Yeah, I am. Hey, good morning, Kathy. I had a
Hi.
question. I have a vacant lot in Central West End, and next to it is a property I've tried to buy for a while. The landlord or the owner, thinks he's going to fix it up, and he hasn't done it in 20 years. Um, the dots connected for me this week with another family I was talking to, but long story short, I was trying to potentially send them a nuisance letter. Is that something you all would write up, or should I mean, I contacted Eastern Missouri. Oh, I can't remember
Peter
their names.
Hoffman.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they help the organizations. So one, I've reached out to the community organization to see if I can hop on there if there's a lawsuit out there going on. But in the meantime, as an individual, I was wondering if I could send a letter to them. But I didn't know if that's something I should really have a lawyer send, and if that is something a lawyer should send, is that something you guys do?
Yeah, if you want to call me next week, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. But you've already done the things that I would have initially advised you to do, was getting a hold with the neighborhood association and see if they will hire Peter or hire an outside lawyer to do the nuisance thing. Because that's correct. The legal services and Peter Hoffman only work through neighborhood associations. Where in the Central West End is it?
The 4200 block of Enright.
And right. Is that north or south of Delmar?
It is north of Delmar. It's
North of Delmar.
literally one block over.
I can't think of, I'm not sure if there's a neighborhood association there.
There is. So when I talked to Peter, he sent me this map. I went on the map and I did not see a neighborhood association, but I called and actually I left them a message from Peter's office. They then told me who the association was. So I emailed the person and I've been communicating with the association. So there is one.
Oh, good. Okay. We have about 50 associations in the Central West End, and it's hard to keep them straight. Um, I live, at Lindell and Kings Highway, and we have three that cover us: the Central West End Neighborhood
Hmm.
Association, the South Business District, and the Community Improvement District. And then we also have the Central West End Neighborhood Security Initiative that's over all of us. Although the security initiative is not going to help you with something like this, but unless there's crime on the property, and if there is, they might help you. But give me a call next week, and I'll talk to you about it. And I think it's good that you're communicating with the neighborhood association. Who are you communicating with?
I'm looking up her name now. Her name is Judith. Uh, I think it's Judith Arnold, and
Oh
she
yeah, I
is
know her
with,
name,
I don't know if
but
that's good or bad that you know her, but
no, I
she
mean
is with
I know a lot of people.
um, Vandeventer Community Development Corporation. So that's
Yeah,
the neighborhood association.
and are you? Do you know if you're in Alderman Browning's ward, that property?
I don't know. I don't remember.
If Because Alderman Browning would be helpful if that's in his
Hmm.
ward. I'm thinking that his ward stops at Delmar on the north, but I'm not 100% sure. But I could find out if that's his or someone else's. And it might be Shamim Clark Hubbard. And I think she's very proactive too
I
and would
think
be a
it
good,
is. Actually,
yeah.
I've seen her signs. I think it is.
Yeah. And I think I have her cell number in my phone. So again, when you call me next week, I'll give you that information as long as you promise not to tell her where she got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I actually have a friend, so yeah, that works. I will give you a call next week. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay. And now we have Demetrius.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is more of a referral question. I'm a landlord and a contractor. And I've
Uh-huh.
actually I'm what I'm looking to do is file a lien in Illinois on
Oh boy.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not licensed in Illinois, but I have an attorney who rents space for me who is licensed in Illinois, and I have been sending him my Illinois cases.
Okay.
Okay, so you can call him at my same phone number, 314-962-1115, and ask for Donald.
You say 1116?
1115.
1115.
Yeah,
And it's for Donald.
Donald, yeah. He's
Yeah.
the attorney that we're giving our Illinois stuff to. He's a nice young man, very tall, and he goes to Illinois. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
and just for clarity, my company is registered in Missouri, but we did a project over in Illinois, and yeah,
yeah, you're
didn't.
gonna have to have an Illinois attorney to do that.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. All right,
Okay,
thank you.
guys. You're welcome. Everybody have a great weekend,
Thank you,
and
Kathy.
I'll see you on the 18th, if not before.
We
All
will.
right.
Thank
Thanks a
you so
lot.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and just for clarity, or just for the replay, the collection people that Katharyn referred to us, Jimmy Findelman. That's if you already have a collection. His number is 314-725-9790. And she said for smaller amounts, and maybe if you don't have a collection yet, is Kristen Scott. And she's with CCM, that's Consumer Collection Management, and her number is 314-432-2430. So jot those down if you need that. Hopefully you won't need it and you'll pay attention. But and again, Katharyn Davis's phone number. She's really one of the top. I say the number one real estate attorney in our whole area. Her number is 314-962-1115. And they do cover a lot of areas. Like you said, though, they do not cover Illinois, but they do have somebody in-house that does. So I think that's it's some good updates there. It'll be interesting to see what she says coming up on July 1st, because they've been working on some of this stuff for a while, and I don't know. We'll just see what happens with all that. And it's always great. We appreciate Kathy coming in because she keeps us filled in on all that. So guess we can get started. Laura, are you up there to give her a disclaimer this morning?
I am.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to do a bit of housekeeping. Feel free to unmute yourself while it's your turn to speak. Please be mindful of everyone else by muting yourself while others are speaking. You're welcome to put any contact information that you want to share into the chat. We meet here to share deals, look for deals and solutions we have in need with our real estate. We are not your financial advisors, attorney, or accountants. You're advised to do your own due diligence to your own satisfaction before you invest. We do not endorse or recommend any specific solutions or contractors here. The first Friday of each month is Ask the Attorney with Ms. Katharyn Davis. Our meetings are typically recorded, so only share what you want others to know.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, let's see. Oh, I see Reggie said, Amber, there are some parcels near you coming up for sale at next week's tax sale auction. I'm not sure if you're familiar, have checked the list out. Yeah, that's always a good idea to look around some of those things right there. I know in Missouri, we talked about this before, but they all have until till the end of May to pay their taxes if they're coming. Otherwise, they come up for the tax sale. They have to pay the full amount by August. And city is different, though. So what you're talking about, Reggie, is you'll have to be familiar with that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Let's see. We got Jay Roman. You put something in there about your money. You feel free. You can talk about being a money broker there if you'd like.
Yep. Thank you, John.
You are?
My name's Jay Roman. I'm a private money broker. I finance fix and flips, fix and keeps, and refi reboots. I also do commercial and multifamily. I also do cash outs. A matter of fact, anything with real estate financial, I do. So if you need something, give me a call. I'm your man. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. And let's see, Lois, let's see, you're having having a neighbor kids issue. I'd like some advice. Uh-oh. What kind of issues are you having there, Lois? Can you unmute yourself? Maybe not. It just depends. I don't know. Those can be tough situations, especially if they're a neighbor where you live, or if they're maybe a neighbor next to some tenants of yours. You know, it always depends on what you're dealing with there. Can't unmute. Okay. Yeah, it's really hard to say. It's depending on what your situation is. You know, it's always best to see if you can work something out with people before you get authorities involved. But sometimes you just got to do that. All right. Anybody have anything they'd like to talk about? Buy, sell? Anybody got anything for sale? I said this, my opinion, it's a really good time to look for properties to buy. Summer coming up, and like Kathy said, there's a lot of people that stop paying their rent right now, saving up for their next place, which is unfortunate, but that's a pattern. I see Dave Soto up there shaking his head. That does happen. I've had it happen to me, and I know a lot of us have. You know, they just plan on the next thing, and it's never fun. It's always best to work with people if you can, but you can't let them get behind either. That's just something that just doesn't, you know, it doesn't work. Oh, here, Lois put some more stuff. Section 8 kids jumping over the fence to my tenant's yard. Jumped, opened my fence and spray painted her place. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough situations. If it's vandalism like that, I mean, you can call and report that kind of stuff. I don't know. Sometimes that stuff helps. Sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it backfires. You know, they'll end up doing other stuff while you're not looking. But that's what you can do, is just call the police on them. Anybody else have anything that any experience they've had with anybody like that they'd like to share with us? Report and send a letter to their landlord. Yeah, that's about all you can really do as far as that goes. But you can file press charges, file a formal complaint with the authorities. Yeah, that's a tough situation. All right, Dave, I see you up there. Do you have anything you want to say on? I know Kathy kind of touched on a couple things we got coming up. It'll be a real interesting meeting she's got where we have coming up on the 18th. But do you have anything you want to say about what she's kind of talked about, or what way things are going right now?
Well, some of the things that she had talked about she said the realtors were involved in. I'm not familiar with everything she's talking about, so I need to find out what's going on with that. But we did have some successes. There are some issues that we're working on, and we'll see that next session. Hopefully, I'll be there to work on those. But the one that she had mentioned before is that they did get passed was eviction moratoriums, so that a municipality cannot impose their own eviction moratorium. That was one of the biggest things we've got. The other one we fought for is trying to, and didn't get it, is trying to get so that cities cannot tell us we have to accept Section 8 housing. There's a number of things that the Biden administration put out in their guidance on tenant rights, and some were pretty outlandish. I think that's where the attorney, free attorney came from, that she was talking about. That interesting to see that it's not going to work. They have no way to actually impose that. So we'll see some stuff. And actually, and John, I want to ask you that there is a person out of Kansas City. She's a realtor, and she's been a big advocate in fighting for these issues for landlords. Because Kansas City did pass their ordinance that a source of income cannot be considered. And she's been a big advocate. She's been on national news, Jeff City, in hearings. And I'd like to bring her to this call one day and let her talk about what she's facing and what she's been through. So it's pretty frightening when you hear her whole presentation of what's happening out there. But if you don't mind, I'd like to invite her to come to this at some point in the future.
Sure, we'd love to have her, David. It's always good to find out what's going on, and that's right from a great source. So we would absolutely really appreciate that. Yeah.
So she is a realtor. She is a landlord. She owns property in Kansas City, and she's been actually attacked because of her stance for landlords and threatened. So it's frightening what the tenants are trying to do. So yeah, it'll be a good conversation to have with her.
That'd be great. Yeah, please let us know. We'd be happy to set something up for her. Absolutely. That'd be great.
Can I just put in, this is Renee, can I just put in my 2 cents about
Sure.
this? Because I've lived in California and Massachusetts. California does not require you to take Section 8 at all. Massachusetts has that source of income discrimination thing, but it's really not something they can enforce unless you blatantly tell the person, I'm not renting to you because you have Section 8, because there's all kinds of, you don't have a deposit, you don't make enough income, you don't qualify in several other ways, or there were 100 applications and I picked somebody else, so they can't really, it's not something that can really be enforced. I don't think. I'm not an attorney though, so, but
So
from what I've seen, my experience is that there are thousands of reasons you can not rent to someone.
and Stacy will bring that up, and she'll tell you exactly how it's working out. That a tenant can file a complaint, and the way they have it set up is that you are guilty until you have to, it's just opposite how it should be. You're guilty, and you have to prove your innocence. So that's part of the problem, is just that it's not necessary that you can't, because we all agree that we can do that for different reasons. For whatever reason we don't want a tenant, that you have to be careful with that fair housing. But the way around that, they have it set up. You call a number, it's almost like an 888 number, a 3-digit number. They call to the city, file a complaint, and then you have to prove your innocence. So
yeah, there's some really good points there too. And yeah, Renee, you do have to be consistent. That's one of the things. I mean, you can find a reason not to rent to anybody. And you should not. I personally would not use Section 8. I've had some really good Section 8 people, and I've had some really bad ones too. We actually had one lady that was in a wheelchair a few years ago, and our property manager actually got her kicked out, and she was in a wheelchair, and they took her voucher away. It was because of her kids doing almost, I don't know what, Lois, what your exact situation is, but they went on to, disturbing the neighbors and not cutting the grass. They got the city involved, which was one of their problems, because they weren't keeping up with it. And these are high school kids, and they could cut the grass. The lady in the wheelchair obviously could not, but they had so many violations. And I see Steve put that in there too, Lois, that you can, and it looks like you contacted the caseworker about a year ago. Those are sticky situations, because, bad neighbors are never good. I don't care what the situation is, and I don't care what neighborhood you're in. They're just never a good situation, because there's always, whenever there's conflicts, they don't usually end well. But that is definitely something you could do, is get a hold of the caseworker, and that might be a good place to go. Even though you've done it once, there's already a record going on of what's going on, if it's the same person. And they are, the inspections for Section 8, they do inspect them. What my experience was, once a year, regardless of what the city or municipality would do. So, that would come up again, and you could even maybe find out a time when they're going to be there, and just kind of be looking at your property next door when they show up, and just have a little brief conversation with them sometimes. Like, hey, how you doing? Or, just kind of see what's going on with it. So I don't know.
The argument that we have is not against the tenants for Section 8. There's two parts of the argument. One is telling us as business owners, individual business owners, how we have to operate our business. The second one is the problem is not always with the tenant. It's with Section 8, with the housing provider, with the bureaucracy that we have to go through. And I don't know how many of you take Section 8, but Tiffany, my operations manager, just pulls her hair. She says we should be charging owners extra for handling Section 8, because it's so difficult to deal with. And, we have to sign this long lease agreement with them, that if they were to change their rules and say, okay, Soda Property Solutions, you don't have to work with us. We'll give the tenant the money themselves. Then we'll say, sure, we'll look at it that way. As long as, we know that they're approved with you, they're going to get the money, and then we don't sign a lease with you, and we can evict if they don't pay. Right now, if Section 8 doesn't pay for whatever reason, you cannot evict the tenant, right? Because it's Section 8, they didn't pay, not the tenant. So it's not against the tenant, it's against the bureaucracy we have to deal with Section 8. And that's what we've been arguing. That's what Stacy argued at the hearing.
Wow. Great point, Dave. It just, yeah, Section 8, you are dealing with them and not the tenants. So that is absolutely an issue. Plus, how much extra time? You should probably charge extra, even though they say you can't. I know that was one of the things that's, and actually I've, there was times when we could have actually charged more and we did not because that's not what we were asking for. So
no, we're talking about charging the owner more for managing their tenant that takes Section 8. So
yeah, I could definitely understand that too, because it is a lot more moving parts you guys got to deal with, and a lot of times it's on a monthly basis. It's not just on a yearly basis when they renew. You got to deal with this stuff ongoing a lot. So great points.
Yeah, it's too bad that, a few people got to ruin it for everybody because my current landlord takes Section 8 and most of his Section 8 tenants are wonderful. He's had to kick a couple out, but most of them are really good and, pay their rent on time and keep the place nice and everything. But it's just the ones that, take advantage. And so that makes, like every landlord be hesitant to take it, which is totally understandable, but also, kind of sad because, the money is actually guaranteed. You get paid every month and the tenant has to pay their share or they lose their voucher. So, so there are some advantages to it, but you have to pick really carefully as far as like, not the income, but check the reference, check references really well, see if they have evictions, still do the credit report, run their credit. But I don't, like, if somebody doesn't want to take it, I don't think anybody should be forced to take it. And there was actually recently a case, I think it was Alabama. I can't remember exactly, but it went to their state Supreme Court and they said that the Section 8 was unconstitutional, that the Section 8 voucher program forcing landlords to take it was unconstitutional because they require an inspection before and then every year or every 2 years after that, which they said was a violation of the unreasonable search and seizure. That was their opinion. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't want to take up too much time, but I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents about that.
Thank you, Renee. Yeah, that's there's a whole different set of circumstances. I've never heard the illegal search and seizure. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that case was just a couple months ago.
Wow. Well, Alabama, that's an interesting state too. There was a guy on a meeting I was at it was probably last year sometime now. That he was working out a deal similar to what we have in St. Louis. We have 20,000 vacant properties and 16,000 have buildings on them, but they have a similar problem in Birmingham. And he worked out a deal to buy these directly from, and most of them were back taxes and things like that, but a package deal of 500 houses in Birmingham for one price. And he was looking for investors. I don't think he ever did come up with them because there's just so much to do. You got 500 problems, all at once instead of maybe 10 that you could actually deal with. I think that's how they left it. But Alabama comes up with a lot of interesting things through their court system.
Yeah, and also like the thing is, if you don't have a good contractor in place, there's lots of reasons. But I really feel like the city of St. Louis, keeps shooting themselves in the foot because they want people to, to fix up their properties, but then they just go, oh, we're finding you for, random things that an abandoned building, like it's vacant, but you need handrails and you need this and you need that. And I can't like I'm not allowed to protect my property with, burglar bars or anything because of the hysterical society. And, like they don't let you do, what you need to do. You have to like go by, and I understand there's rules in place for a reason, but some of this stuff is just completely unreasonable. Expecting people to fix up their property and letting, where people are going to break in and steal everything, and then not allow you to have protection if you don't have, your Wi-Fi set up yet. There's a lot of barriers that they put up to fixing it, including the fine with vacant buildings. I had my building that I just sold, that I got at auction, and they gave me they said, well, we're fining you because you don't have the proper handrails on your porch. And I'm like, well, I sat there by hand and it took me like 3 hours to take them off because the junkies were shimmying up the railing to get into my vacant building. And I'm like, I deliberately took those off on purpose. And they were like, oh, you have to put these back on. It's just, it's, the rules are made like in a vacuum, I think sometimes. Anyway, that's enough griping, but that's my story.
Some great points there, Renee, too, because Kathy mentioned Peter Hoffman working for the Eastern Missouri District. He's an attorney, and he's trying to come up with solutions for a lot of these neighborhoods. We met with him several times last year. And actually, Laura and I went on our own little tour. We were going to put together a bus tour, but we went on our own little tour looking at some of these neighborhoods. And like you said, did you say the hysterical society instead of historical? I like that.
Yeah, that's something
that's what they are.
We used to use that in the fire department sometimes because like it's good to have historical preservation, but sometimes they just go way too far. Like it's to make it impossible for someone to like fix their front door because, you can't find one that is exactly like it, so your front door has to be, open to whoever wants to walk in. Like, there has to be like some reasonable solutions. That's my issue. I have no issue with the historical society itself. It's just some of these things that they're like, you need to have like some understanding of building code, not you personally, but you need to have some understanding of like building codes, why they're there, have some common sense, basically. So that's why, like every once in a while we would say hysterical society, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to have to remember that and use that. Yeah, because we looked at a lot of these buildings. We went in several different neighborhoods. And what's very interesting is like some of those, even down like in the West Central Inn or, some of them other areas, some of the blocks, they'd have, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses on the ones they fixed up. And then the next block over, I mean, you wouldn't even leave your car there. It was that dangerous. And then they're expecting you to fix up some of these places. Well, some of the buildings, these old buildings in the hysterical society, it would cost you like $1 million to fix them up to where they'd be worth 400,000. And then you would have no protection, because you would not have bars on your windows. So they could break in and vandalize it or steal all the stuff, because that's exactly what happens. You got to be there on site, and it makes no sense. So it's kind of like that they're biting their own tail. I mean, it just doesn't work,
Right.
So,
and no one's investing in more in a property than it would be worth fixed up. Unless
why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't make sense. And their argument, we met, at the engineer's place, and there was a couple of attorneys there and stuff that are dealing with this. And their argument was, well, you could come in here. It makes sense because you could get yourself a 4 or 5% cap rate, and which absolutely makes no sense. Somebody is not going to come through here and put millions of dollars into these neighborhoods that are kind of questionable to begin with, and then have to deal with all the red tape with the historical society and with the regulations and everything else. It just doesn't make any sense for 4 or 5%, really. When they can go anywhere else, and even brand new construction, you'll make a lot more than that. And that's what the, investors just don't do that. So, we tried to make some sense out of some of it, and it's still not dead. We're still looking at a lot of these because St. Louis is so full of opportunities is what they are, but you just have to be careful with it because even if they give you these buildings, which they will in many cases, and then you have to get a lot of them, you have to get the title straightened up too. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just they give them to you and that's it. Then you're going to have to start cutting grass too right away because the inspectors all of a sudden, the code enforcement start driving around and they know they got new owners. We deal with some of that in the smaller towns too. As soon as they got somebody they can call, they come right after you. So, but you're not going to put even 50,000 into a property where you're going to make maybe 800 a month in rent or $1,000 a month in rent and then have to deal with all that. It just doesn't make sense. So anyway, we still may put together that bus tour in the near future. We're still looking at that because I do think there are some opportunities for us.
Sounds like maybe not the job of this association, but like there needs to be like an advocacy arm for for construction and building here, because if they really want people to fix stuff up, I think there's a disconnect between like the council and the mayor and everybody being like, no, we really want people to fix their houses, and then the other parts of the city saying you have to do X, Y, and Z. Some of them are for safety, and I'm 100% for those, but when it's something that is like looks wise, like they think boarding up a window is better than putting a what do you call it, the vinyl windows instead of a wood one. Just again, like common sense, there needs to be, maybe that it's time for like some kind of association or advocacy for anybody in real estate, construction, owners, builders, whatever. Just a thought.
Yeah, well, and you're right. You're right, Renee. Some of the stuff that's common sense that makes sense, they won't let you do, and that's one of the things that keeps somebody that might be willing to fix up some of these places out of there because it's just not worth it. I mean, you try one or two, and they get beat down so much, it ends up costing extra money. And I mean, at the end of the day, we all are in it. We want to make things better, but you do got to make some money too. You can't just spend money because you like the neighborhood, and even if you're going to live there, a lot of times it's got to make sense. And a vinyl window makes a lot more sense than a historic wooden window that's not efficient and maybe easier broke into. So I don't
and
know.
Also, like sometimes not available for whatever reason. Like there's sometimes you can't find somebody that can make a correct one depending on the size of the window, et cetera. There's a lot of factors.
They cost a lot too. Custom windows cost a lot.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done it both ways, and I much prefer to go up to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy, or even Hoods, and buy the windows right there on the spot and make them work. It makes a lot more sense than trying to get historical one that, or hysterical, I like that better, one that doesn't even really make sense anymore. So good conversation. Thank you. All right. Anybody else got anything they'd like to share with us today?
I got something.
Sure. Eric, are you in California?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm still in California. I'll be back Missouri next week.
Okay, good to see you.
I got a question. I'm looking for a licensed realtor that is licensed in Jefferson County.
Okay.
We all are. So if we're licensed in the state, we're licensed everywhere in the state. But
I'm
state
looking
who's
for a
not on here
realtor
would be
specifically in that I can do something in Jefferson County.
Well, Stacy, who's not on here today, would be able to help you.
Okay.
Would you like to
I have her info.
You do have it. Okay. Would you like to share that with us anyway, David, just for the record here? So
yeah,
do we have it?
Real quick. I forget her number. So her email is Stacy at sotops solutions.com. P as in property, S as in solutions.com. And her phone number is 636-305-3308. And her extension is 311, I believe. Right here. I got it on my system. 311, yes.
311. Okay. Okay, that was 314-305-3308.
636
Oh, I'm sorry, 636. No, okay, yeah.
305-3380, extension 311.
11. Okay, thank you.
So Stacy is actually our business development manager. Her main job is to bring us new clients for properties to manage, but she also does a lot of sales. So she's a licensed realtor, and so she can help you out.
Beautiful. Thank you. There you go, Eric.
Thank you.
Steve, you need a single hung window, need upper sash to replace, need a guy who does that. You want to unmute and tell us a little bit more about it, maybe what area you're in, and give your contact information. If anybody knows a window repair person, you can unmute. Maybe you can't. Don't see you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody know of a window person who could help Steve out? I know Penny Window has done a lot of stuff for us over the years. You could try getting a hold of them, depending on what area you're in.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
There you are.
I have
Yes.
had a really bad experience with Penny Windows. They came out twice for estimates. They said they lost the first one. They never got back to us with anything. I guess they have so much work that they can do that. I don't know, but everybody said that was the place to go, and we had them come out twice and talk to them about, went over every single window in our farm family, and 2 times, no quote, no getting back to us.
That's highly unusual because we've used them, I don't know, more than a dozen times over the last several years. In fact, I'm looking at Penny Windows right now. We just had a bunch of them for our place we built out here. But that's, never know. Yeah, check. That's why you check other places.
Yeah, this window, this is in Overland, and somebody shoot the window, top and bottom says. Bottom says you can unlock it, The top one is a fixed. So I need somebody who can replace both of them. You hear me, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to put your contact information? You want to share that with us, Steve, in case somebody does know?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else got anything they want to share with us today? We're coming up a few minutes before the hour. There you go. Here's Steve's number, 314-226-3015. So if anybody does window repair that they'd like to refer, let's have them call Steve, please.
Hey, John. This is
Yes.
Blake Silverman. How are you?
Good. And you?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Are you, correct me if I'm wrong, are you the administrator on the Facebook group?
I'm involved with it.
Okay. I think that it might have been, about a week ago. I had put in a post, but I believe it's still under review.
What is it for? Because I know on the Facebook group they don't allow sales things in there if it's something like that.
Sure. So what it was involving was I was just looking to connect with anybody who might be able to, be within the realm of my buy box, just looking to connect with some brokers, whether it be a broker, landlord, or a wholesaler, who can help to point me in the right direction of searching for multifamily properties.
Okay, I'll see if I can look at that later and see what it is. Either it could have got lost there. I know they get a lot of people looking for sales things, and we try to keep the page not sales oriented. It's just mainly for sharing. So we'll see about that. This is always a good place to share that too, though, Blake, as you know. So if you want to share your contact information, that would be good. Right
Yeah,
here.
no problem. Yeah, my name is Blake Silverman. Just looking for, 5 units and up, South City. I'm really open to looking anywhere except for North County, North City. Contact information, 636-489-8353. And a good email is just Blake at, all one word, silvermanrealestate.net.
All right. Thank you, Blake.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. All right. Anybody else got anything they want to share today? Good seeing you. Good turnout. Always good to hear from Kathy. And like I said, she'll be here on the 18th at the Moolah Shrine Center, 12545 Fifi Road. We also are having Jim Siebert he's got a cleaning and restoration company, and he's going to be talking about exactly that, cleaning and restoration, which is something we all need at different times. Hopefully not right away, and hopefully not from tenants you're evicting this month. So, but you might even be a one-stop shop. You get Kathy there for the evictions, and then you get Jim to talk about the cleaning and restoration. So hopefully you don't need them all at once, but those are good subjects. And we will have a Zoom option again this month. So you can always find out more about what we got going on at STLREIA.com, STLREIA.com. Or tune in every Friday. We meet here live every Friday. We're in our 5th year now, which is pretty good. We have not missed a week yet. Even on the holidays, we're here. And Kathy, who helped to start this, she comes in now the first Friday each month and gives us all the updates, which very invaluable information. So that's something you want to make sure you just have your schedule set. And if you need anything else, just let me know. Good seeing everybody. Thanks for coming. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you, John.